Hyperdrive MTG.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Hyperdrive MTG here. I'm your host, Austin, and today we're going to be discussing my favorite cards from the spoilers of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Let's get right into it. So just a warning, you guys, these are spoilers for the next set of Magic, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. So if you don't want spoilers, please leave the video now. For those of you who want to stay for the spoilers, let's get right into it. So how I rate cards is different from other people. I rate them based on my rating system. Bad, good, or insane. If a card is bad, it is either unplayable or so niche that it has very few implements. If a card is good, it is playable and may have many uses. And if a card is insane, it should have never been printed and is so good it can be played in any deck. Today, the cards I'm going to be sharing with you, I'm going to be going in order of color, then card type. First up to bat is white. Our first card is Brilliant Restoration. Brilliant Restoration is a great card. It is basically a better Open the Vaults in white. This card's great, I give it good. Our next card is Cloudsteel Kirin. Cloudsteel Kirin is a equipment creature that makes any creature you reconfigure it to a Platinum Angel. This is really cool. As long as this card is on the battlefield, you will always be relevant in the game. Turning things into a Platinum Angel is good. Next up is Line Sash. I personally think this card is insane because it essentially is a white equipment and a creature that is basically just a Scavenging Ooze and makes any creature you attach it to a Scavenging Ooze. An effect like this in white is going to be really powerful to push white further in competitive EDH, and other formats as well. This card's insane. On to the blue cards. Let's go. First up is Prosperous Thief. Prosperous Thief is an insane card. Ninjas were already really good, and now they have ramp as well, just for attacking people. This is gonna really push ninjas even further into CEDH and other formats. It also gives bonuses to rogues as well, so that also allows it to be very flexible for other deck types. This card's pretty busted. I rate it insane. Next up is Anchor to Reality. Tutors in blue are pretty scarce, especially for equipments and vehicles. This is gonna really be useful for certain blue decks that want to push equipments. And seeing a new vehicle archetype in blue is very exciting. This card's good. Next is Reality Heist. This card should have not been printed. It is essentially a dig through time for artifacts, with affinity. It is similar to cards like Thoughtcast and Thought Monitor, which are already pushing affinity decks really far into formats. We did not need a third effect of this type. The fact that it is instant speed is also going to be crucial to doing good plays and drawing on other people's turns. The fact that it needs artifacts to cost less is not a downside, it is an upside and is really easy to abuse, especially in affinity decks. My gut feeling on this card is that it is so powerful that it possibly might just get banned, just like Dig Through Time did in most formats, for just pushing card draw too far in affinity. Without a doubt, this card is insane. Next is black. First is Dockside Chef. I think this card is super fun and very flavorful, no pun intended. That ramen looks really good. I think it's going to be really fun trying it out in artifact builds in black, or just using it as a fun sack outlet option. It being 1 mana is really cool. It's not the greatest card in the world, and it does cost mana to sacrifice things, so it's not insane, but I do like it. Sack outlets that cost mana are bad though, but I still like the card. Next up is Nashi, Moon Sage's Scion. This card's really cool. If it's not blocked with ninjutsu, it is essentially an effect that is a combination between Bolsa's Citadel and Atali Primal Storm in the command zone. As someone who's played Atali as their commander, this is a really cool effect. Now onto my favorite section, let's talk about red cards. First up is Simeon's Sling. This card is hilarious. My first thought when I saw it was I wanted to make a deck based around the monkey stacking game from Hasbro. You basically just make a bunch of copies of the monkey equipment, and then you use cards that automatically equip all your monkeys to a creature to make a giant stack of monkeys. I think this is really funny and flavorful, and I think I'm going to do it. It's going to be really cool. As hilarious as this idea is, this card is still really bad. Next up is Lizard Blades. Not much to say here, it's just a 2-mana Fire Shrieker in red. Giving double strike is really rare on equipments, so this card is good. Next is Tempered in Solitude. A 2-mana enchantment that essentially gives you red card draw on attack when you attack with one creature is really powerful. That's going to push aggro decks into red a lot farther and give them the extra boost they need to keep their card advantage going. I think this is going to see a play in a lot of aggro decks, and almost any deck that just wants to attack with one creature. More red draw the better. This is a great card. Let's move on to green cards. First up is Kodama of the West Tree. My initial gut feeling on this card is that it's going to be really good with Avenger of Zendikar. It's going to allow you to ramp to insane levels, usually after you cast Avenger of Zendikar and have played an extra land play. It's kind of gimmicky, but I think it's also really fun too. Its uses are still very narrow, so I'm just going to rate it bad. Next up is Tamios, Safekeeping. This card is insane because it's basically just a better Vines of Vastwood in green. I think it will either be played alongside Vines of Vastwood in CEDH, or it will just replace it in most decks. This card is really, really good. It's insane. On to multicolored cards. Let's go. First up is Invigorating Hot Spring. As someone who's been to Japan and seen the hot springs for himself, this card is extremely flavorful. I think the art is hilarious, and I think it does exactly what it should do. It's not a good card by any means, but I love its flavor. It is probably the funniest card of the set. Good memories, bad card. Next is Go Shintai of Life's Origin. Finally, we have a 5-color Shrine Commander. It's still going to be really bad, but I think it's awesome. There are only 17 shrines in the game, so this isn't going to be very good. And no, you cannot use changelings because they are a creature subtype, not an enchantment creature subtype. This is still going to be a really cool commander, but it's a bad card. Next is Ishin, 2 heavens as 1. I think this guy is going to be an excellent commander for Mardu aggro. Having attack triggers doubled in Mardu is really cool, and there's a lot of options for those colors. It's going to be interesting to see a Wolfgar in Mardu change the meta of EDH. This card is really good. Can't wait to see where it goes. Next up is colorless cards. First up is Mech Titan Core. This card is really funny. I think it'll be fun in affinity decks. I'm going with my gut on this one. I think this card's insane. Next up is Reckoner, Bank Buster. Vehicles were really pushed in this set, so this essentially gives you card draw on the first 3 uses, then it starts making tokens and treasures. I think this is going to be really good, especially in maybe like a vehicle control deck. Card draw, ramp, then token production is really good on a vehicle. And last, but most certainly not least, lands. First up, Roadside Reliquary. Effective card draw on lands is very rare. I think this might see play. I rate this good. And last but not least, Besiju, Who Endures. A lot of people have been talking about this card, and I completely agree with all of them. This card is insane. It will see play in every format, it will see sideboard play, and it's going to change the meta of every format. An uncounterable Nature's Claim with a Wasteland effect attached to it that can also be recurred is going to break the game. This is debatably the best card of the set. It's insane. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my spoiler review for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. I didn't go over every card, just my favorites. We never know what's going to happen with these cards actually, so my ratings could be completely wrong, but we'll just have to see once they're released. I'm really excited to see what happens as the meta develops for all formats, and I'm really excited to see how the game changes. As always, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. And as always, stay hyper.